What's up, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. In this video, I'm going to be going over some updates for Bitcoin, but nonetheless, go ahead and get started. Today has been quite a big day for not just Bitcoin, but for altcoins, specifically select altcoins. Here we can see with this post on X here by Eric Trump, showcasing Donald Trump's post on his social media, Truth Social, where Trump said that there will be a presidential working group to move forward on crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, Solana, and Cardano. He didn't initially mention Bitcoin, which a lot of people were questioning, people were upset about, but then here we can see sometime after that post, he said Bitcoin and Ethereum also will be a part of this goal going forward to have these cryptographic reserves. So this is very big. Specifically, the altcoins have performed quite well. Cardano here is up around 103% since that announcement. You see XRP's moved around 55%. Solana moved, which around 43%. Solana's been moving better than a lot of all the altcoins in general, so particularly makes sense why its move was kind of muted compared to XRP was generally the same. But Cardano looks very, which out of all of these, I think it's the one that had corrected the most recently. But if we look here at Bitcoin, looking at the hourly chart, we can see that since really this entire move right here corresponded just about right with the announcement of those reserves, up around 12% from around 85,000, almost on the dot. Moving up here to most notably the 800 estimated moving average. So far it's been finding resistance. We are seeing some degree of bearish divergence, so I won't be surprised. Here we can see with these three high volume vector candles. So the 50% recovery of this is going to be somewhere around, let's see, around 89.5. So we might see a correction down to 89.5, which generally would line up around here with the 200 EMA, also roughly here with the 50 EMA as they both move upwards. So we could see a retest, something along these lines, and then it starts to build back up and go higher. At this point, it does seem like right here, specifically around 78.2 was the low, really just approximately 80,000 right here, where we saw this deviation setting the local low, then it moved back above. Here we saw the resistance, as I'd been pointing this out on community posts recently, where really this entire move down looked very similar to an impulse wave, where we saw the first move here, second, and then third, overall having these three waves towards the downside. Bottomed out here, claimed the support, held the 50 EMA, and then with this announcement, obviously lining up with this move here towards the upside, up to the 800 estimated moving average. As I said, if we go to the 4 hour, we can see the RSI has only moved up to around 64. So looking here at the 4 hour, there's still some room. The RSI is not insanely oversold yet. We could see the RSI move up, maybe 70, 80. Seeing the price actually have one more bump up, maybe somewhere around, let's just say around like 98 to 100,000 or so, generally to this orange box up here, which has been relatively important, from around 97.8 all the way up to around 101.3. There's also these vector zones up here that it could move into and again come back down. Maybe not come down to test around, like I said, somewhere around, around 85,000 would be going all the way down to around, well, actually, was it even the 50 point of this? I already forgot exactly what it was. Be around, and I was 89.5. That's, so I was flipping my numbers around. So around 89.5 on the 4 hour chart. Let's say it moves up, comes down to around like 89.5, be around something like this, and then it moves back up, which again generally would line up with this 50 EMA right here as it continues to move higher. So that could be a potential scenario happening, or we could just, see Bitcoin continue to ramp up here and actually quickly, rapidly recover back up towards the upside. But getting above this 200 estimated moving average is going to be very important. It's been resistance ever since here on February 3rd, 4th. So we might see some, again, short-term resistance here, then move back above it, or it might break through it, come down and retest it, and then continue to go higher. Plenty of different ways and routes the price could take, but everything right now is looking very good, in my opinion. If we look here at the daily, it's moved back above, closing above. We can see here the 200 estimated moving average, also closing above here the 50 estimated moving average. Most importantly, looking here at the descending resistance of the RSI, you can see that the RSI has come right back up to it. Right now it's currently finding some resistance. Again, like I said, we could potentially see some retracement here in the short term and then ultimately flip back upwards. What would be mostly important is if it can flip this zone right here around approximately 97.5. We can see Bitcoin come above this, come down, retest it, and then continue to go higher. I think that would be a very good scenario to see play out. That would likely line up with the RSI coming up here, retesting it, and then moving up to this yellow zone, which is going to be very important to get into, and then move higher than in order to see the price action here for Bitcoin actually come up above 109,000 and then continue to go higher towards new highs, all-time highs, and finally end up culminating the current bull run. Look here at the weekly. This is most important. I had been pointing out, as you can see, going all the way back to the first leg, the first wave of this bull market here, we can see at the end of this intermediate consolidation here, as it went from around 20,000 up to 31,000, we could see there was this massive wick towards the downside. This weekly candle got bought up and it closed above the 13 EMA. Go to the second leg or impulse of the bull market. We can see here at the end of this intermediate consolidation, there was a wick below the 13 EMA. Weekly candle got bought back up and closed above it, then moved up to around 73, 74,000, around 40,000. So each of these times also we're seeing from here to here was around a 1.5x. From here to here was approximately 2x. It was more so around like 1.9 something. And this time around, again, we're seeing, I believe we saw this end of this intermediate consolidation here, this massive, this most major wick towards the downside all the way to around 78K. Moved up and didn't quite like the prior times. As we can see here, it closed above the 13 EMA, basically closed right on top of it, just a tad bit below. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, that is completely fine and looks great in my book. This current candle here, best case scenario, obviously Bitcoin continues to go higher here, will end up engulfing the prior candle, which would be a bullish sign. Really, at this point, best case scenario, we need to see this candle get back up into the pennant flag here. The next one opens up, comes up, maybe retests here somewhere towards late March, maybe a little bit faster than that, and then continues to go higher here. So as I pointed out, with each of these impulses towards the upside, where we see here 1, 2, and then now this one here would be the third one, somewhere up towards 180K at lowest, 230, 250K at highest is what I think. Where I said from this midpoint to the final point here was around 1.5, then it was basically around 2 here. So the trend is it's increasing. So let's just say it stays somewhere around 2. So the low here was around, basically let's just round it up to 180,000. So if it 2x's from here, it would move up towards somewhere around maybe right here. So around, let's say 160, 170, 180K. But since it's increased every single time, so it's basically 1.5 to 2.5, or 1.5 to 2, then let's say to 2.5, so 80,000. Again, that would be to around 160,000, somewhere right here, and then that 2.5 or that 0.5 adds that 2 would then push it up to 200,000, so somewhere right around here again, further validating the general price target range that I've been giving, with kind of really the median of that somewhere around like 200, 210, 215,000, maybe moving up to 230, 250K at highest, maybe 180K at lowest or so. If you look here at this weekly chart, I went over this in one of the recent videos where we see this uptrend channel here for the current bull market, characterizing it again with each of these, basically this 5-stage impulse wave here, where we are now, as you can see with this first ABCD pattern, as I pointed out, with an intermediate consolidation here, seeing just now we're on the third iteration of this, where, as I pointed out last time around, the 0.5 acted as support here, then it was the 0.618 here, and now Bitcoin at this point, as you can see, obviously it is below the 786, but assuming that over the next few weeks we see Bitcoin ramp back up and meet back up here at the top of this trend again, and this channel, essentially, even though it did go a tad bit below it, this 786 is what acted as support, just very much so like you could say back here. If you look here from 1 here to 2, the beginning of the second ABC move, or the third stage, or the second leg of this overall impulse, you can see that, yeah, it briefly was going below the 786 here, but ultimately the 786 did act as the support up to 45K, the correction to 38.5, then all the way up to around 73, 74,000. So we could be seeing something very similar here, where generally within a rough bubble around the 786 is going to act as support, and then it moves all the way up to the top of this channel. Sometime by, at this point, I'm looking towards Q2, late Q2, early Q3, unless things end up extending out here. Let's say Bitcoin actually ends up going sideways for a number of weeks, maybe over the next month or so. Maybe it evens up coming down again in this whole news event of these crypto strategic reserves is really just going to kind of fizzle out and die out. And it was this relatively ephemeral, momentary good news for the market that pumped it up for a brief period of time. Maybe we'll actually even see Bitcoin come back down and further fulfill this wick here down towards 78, basically approximately 80,000, and then maybe sometime like late March, early April, we'll see it move up. If that happens, then I would still generally be looking towards quarter three. I really don't have much reason to be entertaining quarter four at this point for 2025 to be where Bitcoin tops out at. So I'm still looking more towards late Q3. So like late April, June, July, August is kind of where I'm looking at currently. Again, unless things start to extend. When it comes to the altcoins, I really, as I've said many times, it all just depends upon when Bitcoin wants to top out. If Bitcoin tops out, let's just say late Q3, then or late Q2, early Q3, then a lot of the altcoins will probably top out late Q3, sometime Q4. Bitcoin wants to top out late Q3, sometime Q4. Let's just say early Q4, then we'll likely see a lot of the altcoins top out late Q4, and then sometime in Q1 of 2026. Generally, I would say most of the altcoins will probably set their all-time highs within a month or so after Bitcoin tops out. Typically, there is a lag of altcoins behind Bitcoin with that hysteresis rate factored in, but generally it's not insanely long. Usually it's just a few weeks or so. Typically no more longer than like a month and a half. Let's say 2 months at longest. But that was really all that I wanted to go over in this video. So as always, none of this is meant to be financial advice. But all that being said and everything gone over, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.